Jim from Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
So, in case you haven't heard, Mayor Eric Adams and several other New York City officials basically said, basically he got indicted today, Eric Adams. I mean, the last couple of weeks we had all these things going back and forth and everything else. Know about this and about that, and this one's getting indicted. This one's getting this one's getting this, but essentially the we've had the school's chancellor resign, police chief resign, all these folks, and I'm trying to line this up here. So this is basically what it comes down to. Is a lot of his advisors resigned, apparently, is what I've heard, because of his issue is that he hired his friends, basically, and that's not always such a good idea. New York City already has a law against hiring family members in your administration. I know Mayor Bloomberg, when he was elected mayor, he wanted his daughter was his right-hand person on everything, his point person on everything. Basically what they, an old term, aide de camp sort of thing. And she ran businesses with him. She ran her the campaign, and they said, well, you can't hire her. And he's like, what do you mean? This is my right-hand person. I've always thought it was like a stupid thing where you can't hire family members. My opinion is if they're qualified and they could keep family, they should be hired. So for example, historically, JFK, John F. Kennedy hired his brother, Robert F. Kennedy, to be Attorney General. And again, appointed him to be Attorney General. Well, guess what? No one's going to argue that Robert F. Kennedy was not qualified to be Attorney General, right? I don't think anybody is going to seriously argue that. No, all history, being the judge, these things good, some bad, that they do and everything else, mostly good. But, so I don't know. If you have a friend who is qualified to do something in your administration, that would be it. So, for example, let's say you're running a presidential campaign and you're campaigning for the candidate for president. Well, if you're a medical doctor and a very high-level medical doctor, why wouldn't you be appointed as Surgeon General, maybe, or some other appropriate title if you hold the qualifications? Same thing for Attorney General and many of the attorneys general in the United States. And everything, why not? I don't know. But you get into some trouble sometimes because of familiarity, and there's, you have to be objective when you're managing people sometimes. You can't be their friend all the time. You got to be the boss. So basically, New York City's Mayor Eric Adams was indicted yesterday afternoon, and it was sealed yesterday, but unsealed today. Alleges that Adams engaged in corruption dating back at least a decade. He abused his position as the city's highest elected official, and before that as Brooklyn Borough President, to take bribes and solicit illegal campaign contributions, according to U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. Adams has been in New York City's public eye for decades, formerly serving as an NYPD captain, as state senator, and Brooklyn borough president. He's been leader of the country's largest city since 2021. I knew that something was up. There was murmurings in the background, and being in the area, you hear murmurings. And first week of this month, I received this letter from the Congressman Michael Lawler, who is my congressman here. And I think it was like a form letter. I don't know how I got on his mailing list, if they just sent this to everybody or just people like me who are in their, as my wife calls it, their watch list. I don't know if I'm on the watch list, but based on me being a registered Republican, right, for full disclosure here, they probably was on his list to send mail to. And this is official mail from Congress of the United States. Here it is on the official letterhead, right? Dear Poesl family, according to city data, New York City has likely already surpassed $5 billion in spending on shelter, security, and food to handle the massive number of migrants overwhelming the city. All right, by the way, I think I'm the only one reading this on the air, so I'm going to do this. Safety Wars exclusive. And migrants overwhelming the city. Sadly, this is not just a New York City problem. Albany has already spent more than $4.3 billion in state money on the migrant crisis, yet New York City Mayor Eric Adams has repeatedly asked the state and the federal government to cover more of the cost. The crisis we now face is a culmination of federal, state, and local failures. It should come as no surprise that New York City's refusal to cooperate with Immigration's Customs Enforcement, that is ICE, and offering of free health care, food, clothing, and shelter to migrants will put a hole in it. It can't climb out its way up, right? Meaning a financial hole that they can't cut, right? We are never going to fix this mess if we don't fix our broken immigration system and secure our border. More than a year ago, the House passed the Secure the Border Act, which would have fixed the crisis at the border by limiting abuse of our asylum system, restricting asylum eligibility, and requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico. I was proud to support this common sense legislation, but it has yet to be taken up for a vote in the Senate. I know it is going to take both Republicans and Democrats working together to address our broken immigration system, which is why I also joined a bipartisan coalition in Congress to introduce the Dignity Act, the first bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform bill in over a decade. I came to Washington to solve problems, not to kick the can down the road. That's why I'm going to keep working with colleagues in both parties to fix this mess. Please do not hesitate to share your thoughts on this or other important topics by calling my office, and he gives the office number, and it's the local one, to stay updated on issues before Congress, mobile office hours, or other upcoming events. Please subscribe to my e-newsletter at lawlerhouse.gov. Your involvement is a key to our success. Believe it or not, the same day I received this letter, I went to Congressman Lawler on a separate issue there with him. Number one. Number two is after my son and I were going to a community event, and lo and behold, his campaign was there. So I spoke to them on specifically this issue, and they followed up with a phone call a couple of days later. Now, what is happening here, and what the you're right, what's not in the news, but we covered it here once, and I'm going to cover it a little bit more forcefully tonight, is this. Every contractor that I know who does business in New York City, and I've spoken to a couple of construction management firms that approve invoices for New York City, and New York City is finding every excuse to stonewall the invoices that they're on their other bills. They're stonewalling people with paying them, delaying payment because of this $5 billion crisis. So basically, I'm not going to give an opinion here on whether or what we should be doing about the migrants. I'm a law and order kind of guy. I believe everybody should be under the same laws, the same rules as everybody else. We all know that. If you've been listening now for 3.5 years, that's my take on everything. Law and order with this. I'm not exactly sure that's part of the problem here. You have people not applying the law. If you don't agree with the law, change the law. We have a mechanism in place. The worst thing that we could do is have laws on the books that are never enforced or very highly selectively enforced. I'm for law and order with this and enforcing the laws. If we have a debate, we don't like the laws, change the laws. All right, number one. Number two is they're taking the money from Peter to pay Paul, so to speak, out of their other budgets, and they're applying it to this. Of course, there's going to be a fiscal crisis with this. Now, what happened right now, as of today, he is as of today, he has not resigned unless it's happened in the last 14 minutes that we've been on the air. So the issue is this: who becomes the mayor with this? If he does resign or steps down, it is the public advocate of New York, who is Jermaine D. Williams. And I'm reading his bio off of advocate.nyc.gov, which is his official website, right? Previously, public advocate Williams served on the New York Council representing the 45th District. Advocate Jermaine Williams, right, is the first. It's hard to get that out. They have him on a first name basis. I don't think that's. If it's a public official, it should be their title and their name, right? You're a public official, not your friend, even though they want to tell you that they're your friend during the campaign, right? Jermaine is a first-generation Brooklynite of Grenadian heritage. He graduated from the public school system, overcoming the difficulties of Tourette's and ADHD during a master's degree from Brooklyn College. He began his career as a community organizer at the Greater Flatbush Beacon School and later served as executive director of New York State Tenants and Neighbors. There he fought for a truly affordable, income-targeted housing across New York State, city and state. In New York City Council, Jermaine championed landmark legislation that fundamentally transformed New York City. Jermaine sponsored the Community Safe Act, reforming the city's police department and ending the abuse of stop, question, and frisk in communities of color, and creating the NYPD's Office of Inspector General to investigate unlawful and unethical behavior. As a former co-chair of the council task force to combat gun violence, he helped create New York's crisis management system, which funds secure violence groups that work to reduce shootings through a multi-pronged approach. The program fundamentally transformed the city's approach to gun violence prevention, and as public advocate, he continues to work for its expansion and improvement today. Jermaine has led the fight for better policing and safer streets, affordable housing, and transparency and accountability in city government. As a public advocate, Jermaine will continue to be an activist elected official who brings the voices of everyday New Yorkers to city government and makes New York's a truly progressive beacon for all. Basically, his reputation is that he's further to the left of Mayor Adams with this. And we know Mayor Adams is on left of the aisle. Someone who I have met many times over the years, Curtis Sliwa was one of the people running against Mayor Adams here, and he predicted a lot of these things because word on the street. You know, people are not supposed to talk about grand jury stuff, but we know that's not necessarily true. But public, but basically, this is what it comes down to: is that Mayor Adams is saying he's not resigning, and he is going to fight this, and this is all they're on a witch hunt against him, and they're out to get him. That's been true because he has not exactly been a game player. I think a little bit of that comes into this. But more importantly, when did this happen? Usually with, and I'm just going to put this out there, when there's bad news for the Democrats, when do they release the story? Friday. It's usually a Friday afternoon, so everybody could get their ducks in the row for over the weekend. Right, with this, and then come back on Monday, and a lot of the Sunday morning news programs are filmed Friday, right? So what happens is they wait for this stuff to happen after these news programs are filmed and the promos given, and then they're able to do Saturday and Sunday, get their ducks in a row, then Monday come in. Now, and then address it. The fact that this happened on a Wednesday, and you're going to say, well, Jim, this sounds conspiratorial. Okay, call me a conspiracy theory. I don't really care at this. I'm an observer of this since I'm 9 years old. I'm going to be 54 very soon. And this is what happens time and time and time again. So the fact that this came out on a Wednesday, the grand jury indictment, and then immediately they released the seal on Thursday to release the indictment, indicates to me that Friday, when all these news programs are being promoted and a lot of them being filmed, they're going to, or taped or video record, whatever we're calling it. I'm going to get emails and stuff. Or you're using old-fashioned. Okay, whatever, recorded. All right. My opinion is that there is some truth to them being out to get him with this. And I'm not defending the man. I'm just observing with this. I have no opinion whether he did it or not. I do have an opinion with some of the decisions he made, as I just pointed out. But the fact that this happened on Wednesday, I think the fix is in on this guy. He's going to resign or something, and they're going to have all these news programs on the weekend are going to be with us, all the local and national news programs with us. Also, let's not discount that this is an election season. All right? Not doing so good for some of the candidates, depending on the polls you read. So that takes any criticism on the presidential election and any bad press that either side has here off the table for the Sunday morning programs. And where a lot of people, all that they do is they watch the Sunday morning programs to get their news. So don't think that doesn't go into this. And that's, call it what you will. I'm just, with this here. And that's what I'm going to say here. And we're going to go to commercial break right now. And I know people are off the floor. Jim's talking politics. You know what? I got to talk politics here. If I wasn't going to mention this, it would be like, oh, well, it's an irrelevant program. Well, too bad. And I'm in the neighborhood, and everybody in Mike Lawler's district, 17th district, now is a part of the story here after a letter like this. And this indicates to me is that everybody, that the fix was in, something was up. I knew something